Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I would like to welcome you to this brand new series. Now, unfortunately, the Union of Britain series had to come to a close because the game bugged out, and I just couldn't progress any further. It was dead in the water. So we are going to start a new game. Now, a couple of people have been asking me to play as one of the smaller nations, and I think it is about time to do that. So after a little bit of deliberation, basically the options were like Brazil, the Netherlands, Romania, Mongolia. I decided to go with Brazil. I haven't seen anyone else playing this, at least not in the way that I intend to. Now, the idea here is, and I've had to do quite a lot of reading on Brazil's history because I knew almost nothing about it, actually. Basically, there was an amazing emperor who was Dom Pedro II. My objective is to restore the monarchy, because after Dom Pedro II was defeated in the coup d'etat, which was a weird one because that was apparently at the peak of his popularity and his power, he was replaced by a republic. The republic is at the moment crumbling and could fall to fascists, authoritarian democrats, which is I think a group of military leaders, or the communists. But there is kind of a fourth way, and that is essentially allow the republic to continue and possibly restore the monarchy. I'm not entirely sure. I've been going through the focus ideas for the Brazilians, and it's not really clear what focus or what direction I need to go in, so we're going to kind of jump in and basically learn as we go. So, brief history. Brazil's fragile First Republic has been on the brink of death since the humiliating defeat by Argentina last year. The Brazilian Workers' Confederation, an umbrella organisation for the syndicalists, is leading heavy labour strikes in the southeast. Meanwhile, nationalist thoughts are growing popular among the middle class. Not even the armed forces can be trusted anymore. The Tenetes, the group of officers that already organised mutinies during the war, could be mobilised by any side of the political spectrum. Emergency elections have been called for August, and some say only a miracle can save the democracy in Brazil. So, what do we have? These are potential focuses. We start with no national spirits whatsoever. The boss right now is Arthur da Silva Bernandes. I'm very sorry if I pronounce these names wrong. I'm good at the Germanic stuff, not so good at the Latin stuff, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway, we are going to hit Brazil. We are going to be playing on veteran because I just prefer it on veteran. And now, having kind of seen that the AI is a lot better at managing its manpower, we are going to make all of the big nations that much stronger, just so that there's more of a fight going on against us. Whoops, not that much when we get to that stage. Now, I don't know if we're going to be taking any sides in this war. The most likely would actually be with Germany. So having Germany actually manage to survive for a while would be really nice. Alright, let's jump in. Geronimo. Right, so. And of course the game hasn't loaded properly, so back in second. Right, so the interface actually loaded that time, so much better. Sometimes happens when I alt-tab while in the main game screen, which I had been doing because I've been trying to read a bit about the Brazilian history. So, their focus tree, as you can see, is massive. Now, this is much like the Russian tree, broken up into the different areas of the different political parties. So, for example, over here on the right, we have the rather ominously named Civil War. And depending on your faction in the Civil War, you can go AIB Triumphant, ANL Revolutionaries, Vargas Victorious, or Democracy Maintained. And that's where the integralists are. See, what I was initially thinking was we should go Democracy Maintained. But having done a little bit of reading, I think we actually want to go AIB Triumphant and then take the anything integralist that we can get. So this is actually kind of leaning fascist, but you can ultimately choose monarchist, while this is just pure democratic. So I think that is where we're going to go. Now, part of the confusion here is looking through the different factions. There is no one that sounds monarchist whatsoever. The National Populists, Integralista Brasilia, could be Republicanos. No, that's clearly Republican. And I know that Vargas is the guy who historically took control over Brazil, and he was a dictator. So he's not a monarchist. Authoritarian Democrats, that's the Tenentistas, which were the army commanders, basically. It's a group of a council of army commanders. And then the Social Conservatives, who are the guys in charge right now. Market Liberals, Social Liberals, Social Democrats, and then the Socialist groups. We're definitely not going Socialist. We want to go right-wing, but I'm not too sure precisely how right-wing. I mean, I kind of suspect that we will end up fascist, and that's just how the monarchists are modelled in this. I don't know for sure. Like, I cannot find that much information about just how the monarchist game works in this. So if you happen to know, let me know in the comments. But otherwise, we will just kind of go headlong forwards. Okay, so what position is Brazil in the start? We have a couple of civilian factories. We have a couple of military ones. We have research available, so we're going to do the usual production orientated ones and technology orientated, of course, and then civilian factories. Now, how is our infrastructure? We have a little bit over here. Now, part of the other problem is I haven't really looked at South America at all during any of the games I've been playing, particularly with Kaiserreich. I'm always kind of focused in this area or in this area, so I don't actually know what parts of the country are carved up to who. I really feel like I'm just diving in the deep end here. So what I'm going to start... What do I want to start doing? Like, I'm going to be somewhat limited in what I can do before war breaks out. So we're just going to stick a bunch of infrastructure here so that we can ultimately get some faster civilian factories going in Rio. And otherwise, I'm just going to make lots and lots of guns, because that's a fairly safe route, I think. We also have one naval dockyard, which can be producing convoys for now, because I don't really know what else to focus on. We are really short. Oh, we actually produce rubber. Oh, of course, Brazil is a rubber producing country. Ford actually built basically an entire artificial city in the Brazilian rainforest just to harvest rubber. Didn't work out very well. I don't remember the reasons for it, but it is kind of an interesting story. So, we have no steel. Do we even produce steel? We produce basically nothing except for rubber. That means we're going to be importing a lot. That's not good. Or alternatively, we can go conquering. Argentina has a lot of oil. And Chile has a lot of steel. That's interesting. Oh, wow. And all the tungsten in Bolivia. Actually, you know what? South America is actually pretty darn rich. The only thing they are really lacking, loads of aluminium, is steel. What stuff can we produce that doesn't use steel? Nothing. Basically nothing. Motorized. Do tanks? Yeah, tanks definitely do. Aircraft don't use steel. We could go for a very air-heavy military and just pound everyone into submission. Be kind of interesting. Okay, next thing is the national focus. So I think the only ones we can do is bridging the Brazilian archipelago or the uneasy peace. Research bonus on radio, which would be nice. Support equipment, yeah, okay. Electronics, air doctrine. I mean, these are all the military ones, which we will need eventually. Or the uneasy peace, which gives us army experience, and then these are land doctrine. You know what? Actually, we're going to get bridging the Brazilian archipelago because I do like radio. To many of our military analysts and theorists, Brazil is akin to an archipelago, with cities and major centres being its islands. The vast, inaccessible unknown of nation can... What? Interior of the nation, I guess, can greatly hinder our reaction speed to an invasion, but may also come to save it from an invasion in the near future. What we need is to not complain about the cards we got, but learn a way to know what to do with them. Establish a series of radio stations at something notice. Alright, I think that's all we can do. We do start negative political power, and we are in fact losing political power. Wow. Okay, that's something I probably should have looked at. Thank you, Kaiserreich team. Great job, lads. I want to know everything. The political situation. Brazil's fragile First Republic has been on the brink of its end since a humiliating defeat by Argentina on the last year's war. We've already read this during the start, have we? No, we haven't. The apparent instability represented by the Café com Leite doctrine, the dominance of Brazilian politics by the landed oligarchies of Sao Paulo and Minas Gerais, is revealing itself a farce, as general dissent against the federal government becomes more and more apparent. Old rivalries between different sectors of societies are awoken. Dissatisfaction by the local elites of the south and the northeast against the government in Rio, and also by the industrialists in Sao Paulo, is growing. The Cangacho bandits, led by figures like Lampiao and Corsico, are running rampant and harassing farmers in Sierra, Bahia, and Pernambuco. Oh man, I'm feeling so out of my depth with this. The Brazilian Workers' Confederation, an umbrella organisation for the syndicalist movement, is sponsoring heavy labour strikes in the southeast. Meanwhile, populist and nationalist thoughts are growing among the army and the middle class. Not even the armed forces can be trusted anymore. The Tenenitas, the non-partisan junior officers who organised the mutinies among the army during the final stages of the war, can and will be mobilised by any side of the political spectrum. Emergency elections have been called for August, and some say that only a miracle can save democracy in Brazil. So we have until August to do whatever. Padre Cicero passes away. This morning, Father Cicero Romano Batista died peacefully during his sleep at the old age of 92. The local leader, revered as a saint by the peasantry of the northeastern states, was seen as an eminence Greece by the political class in Serra, acting as a neutral mediating party on disputes between the Konotais, the landed oligarchs of the northeast. His charisma will be missed. And that's just making us think even further into political problem. Assassination of President Kerensky. 11 days into the game. Is it usually that early? Yeah, it must be. Kerensky has just been shot and killed while on his way to the Senate. The assailant was taken down by the police, but the goals and intentions of the attacker are unknown. Despite his massive unpopularity among the Russian people due to a botched land reform and ineffective rule, Kerensky was nevertheless able to hold the country together for years, and his death has thrown Russia into chaos. The senators are already discussing a possible replacement to Kerensky. New coalitions are being formed, both between the left and the right, while military men like Denikin, Wrangel and Kornilov are just one step away from intervening to dissolve democracy and save Mother Russia. Good stuff. The Brazilian Communist Party dissolves itself. This morning, the small city of Cruzeiro, Sao Paulo, was visited by the remaining leaders of the Brazilian Communist Party, the PCB, Partido Comunista Brasileiro, as they organised their clandestine four-party Congress. Founded in 1922 and much present on the very early days of the labour movement, the PCB is now a shadow of its former self, as a great part of its leaders and members have moved to other movements and parties, such as the Workers' and Peasants Bloc, the BOC Bloco Operação e Comunidade. I'm so sorry. The Brazilian Workers' Confederation, CBT, Confederação Brasileira dos Trabalhadores, and the Socialist Revolutionary Party, the PSR, Partido Socialista Revolucionário, the strict adherence to the old Soviet Bolshevist doctrine by the party inner circle, is seen by many as the reason for its failure. With this in mind, the Rump Party voted by a great majority to dissolve itself and be absorbed by the CBT. A small part of the old guard, however, led by Octavio Brandão, is keeping an eye on the developments of the totalist ideas in Britain and have already announced that the party may be refounded in the near future. Okay. Alright then, onwards. Downfall and stability. With the lack of political power, our country is destabilised and needs to recover. Not surprising. Edward VIII, crowned as King of Britain. George V, the last King of Great Britain and Ireland to have ruled the home isles themselves, has passed while in exile in Canada. The first Windsor King, his reign shall be remembered with sorrow and sadness, as during it Britain lost both the Welsh Creek and its homeland. The crown was inherited by Edward, Prince of Wales, who now stylises himself as Edward VIII. King Edward is a vengeful and ambitious man, and not on good terms with Prime Minister Mackenzie King. He lives on the goal of avenging his father and reconquering the British Isles, and thus is quite popular among the British exiles in Canada, among others. Cool. That's true, we could be training these guys. Like, if they turn out to be my army, then train them, just in case. That is our entire military at the moment. Awesome! This is going to be good. Still January. Major industrial strike in Sao Paulo. Today, the Brazilian Workers' Confederation, led by Astrogildo Pereira, announced a major strike in Sao Paulo. All the industry has stopped producing as most of the city's workers have joined the movement. The picketers are demanding a complete review of the labour laws, instituting a common minimal wage for all states and other workers' rights. The organisation is willing to negotiate, starting now. Cave into their demands. Syndicalist popularity increases? Nope. We will not negotiate with them unless they stop their strike. We lose we gain the major industrial strike, which decreases factory output by 50%, or the national populist popularity goes up, we gain the national thing, and also political power goes down. We will not negotiate with them unless they stop their strike. I think that's what we're going to go with. Because yes, I know the national populists might be the one that we need to go with, but it is really unclear. Like, what does this do? Even the younger generation will barely remember the troubled times, however... no... Oh, come on. Give me a clue here. Salgado's words to be broad, it's not a matter of race, it's a matter of morals. God-fearing Brazilians rejoice at victory, bring Brazil newfound vigour. Democracy maintained has no description. Coup attempts and civil unrest make it clear that words alone will not keep the Republic safe. So no, this is definitely maintaining the Republic, so it must be this line. Because this is the dictatorship. I'm pretty sure the dictatorship does not lead to the monarchy. Although technically monarchies are dictatorships. But not quite. Black Monday. On the 3rd of February 1936, the Berlin Stock Exchange stopped sinking. It plunged. Fueled by the instability, the market panic selling erupted as soon as the stock market opened on Monday morning. It took well into the night for the teleprinters to stop spluttering out the results of what became known as Black Monday. When the results have been analysed, it was clear that the situation had only got worse overnight. Maybe we should have gone for that. CBT strike in Sao Paulo continues. The main industrial hub of the country is still on complete halt as the Brazilian Workers' Confederation maintained their picketing. The movement now is threatening to spread west to Rio de Janeiro, as local CBT chapter led by Minervo de Oliveira has already announced their intent to join in. Some in the government say that we can't be held to ransom by syndicalist scum and recommend a heavy police presence. Oh, absolutely. We're definitely going police now. Like, you've had your chance. We showed that we were willing to negotiate, and you spat in our face, so screw you. Emirate of Afghanistan declared war on the Dominion of India. Electoral gridlock in France. The Commune of France is the world's leading syndicalist nation. United as a federation of city communes and directed by the Comité de Salut Public, the chief executive ever since its inception, however, the second commune was not uniform in its policy. Numerous factions arose, each one with their own ideas of which path France should take. As the time for revenge against Germany and the World Revolution closes in, the CGT election of 1936 is set to be very important. It was so important, in fact, that none of the four factions could acquire a majority. Much like before the election, a coalition must be found. But how will this change the shape of the Commune's policies? Only the men in the CSP itself know. After the Weltkrieg, as the British Raj collapsed into turmoil and warfare, the neighbouring kingdom of Afghanistan took advantage of this opportunity to seize Peshawar and Quetta, both border regions in the Dominion. However, the Afghani's government's attempts to modernise over the last decades have been met with fierce resistance from the conservative elements within the country. King Amanullah Khan now hopes to use the turmoil in Delhi following the death of King George V to his advantage. By repeating the success of the Fourth Anglo-Afghan War, the king hopes to silence the conservative opposition and bring new lands to the crown. However, international experts do not put many hopes on the tiny mountain nation winning this conflict. How are we doing for guns? We're actually okay. Hopefully we actually start with these troops. Because it would kind of suck if we didn't. I think that, like, the revolutionaries will be up here. Our popularity is rising. Due to his popular policies, one of our loyal ministers has managed to strengthen our ideology. With some additional influence, we could increase the popularity. No. Not going to do that. We need good, strong leadership again. In the form of someone accepted by divine right, obviously. The remilitarization of Lusitania. The Treaty of Bucharest in 1918 officially ended the Weltkrieg for Romania, but at a high cost. The nation was now dominated by German and Austrian industries. Oltenia was demilitarized, and the oil fields were leased to Germany up to the year 2012. The humiliation that the Romanians had to endure resulted in the nation devolving into a national populist dictatorship, led by Conductor Cornelio Codro. Codrino and his Iron Guard set a mission to restore Romania to what it should have been, a Titan of the Balkans. The first major move, conducted by the Conductor Conducator, and the remilitarization of Oltenia, a strategic region in Wallachia with lots of oil reserves and military industry. The Romanian military has already started a mass parade in Craiova to celebrate their success. Aha, we have got that one. So we can get support equipment or military stuff. I don't think we need either of those right now. I think we're going to get the uneasy peace. A war with Argentina, which called itself La Plata now, is recent. Its wounds are open and things must change if we are to be humiliated on the battlefield. And things must change if we are not to be humiliated on the battlefield again. Because I don't really want to get humiliated again, thank you very much. Because that would kind of suck. Alright, it's March. Still got a couple of months before August and the election. The First International Congress. Representatives from numerous syndicalist and socialist nations have gathered in Paris today in what might just be a defining moment in the history of the ideologies. The French Commune has invited numerous countries to the first official gathering of the members of the Third Internationale to discuss political, foreign matters and cooperate on spreading socialism further. The French opened the Internationale with a powerful parade, festivities in Paris, and finally a speech by the chairman of the CSP. Topics like Spain, the United States, and the world economic crisis are on the top priority, and it's expected that France and Britain will take the initiative at the gathering. Okie dokie. So we're at 6% there, 9%, 7%, 42% still for the Social Conservatives. Like, the Republic is actually fairly popular with the people. Dominion of India took 4 states. Afghanistan has been annexed. It gone bye-bye. Oswald Mosley, elected as chairman of the TUC. The 1936 Trade Union Congress in the Union of Britain was made out to be decisive. Longtime chairman of the TUC, Philip Snowden, declared his resignation, causing the 4 major factions in the Union, the Maximists, the Autonomists, the Federationalists and the Congregationalists, to butt heads over the position. As the dust settled, Oswald Mosley, leader of the Maximists and a totalist ideologue, has been appointed as the new chairman. Mosley's faction supports strong central government and full state control of the economy, and are much more in favour of British action and British nationalism than any other faction. We no longer get the effects of the major industrial strike. Well done, police forces, for putting that down. And we have electronic engineering. So we can get the radio super fast. We're going to get mechanical engineering first, and then I think we will get the radio. Are we still producing lots of guns? Not really, because we are really short on steel. Should we spend one to get steel? I think we probably should. We're going to just buy one, so that we can make sure that you get a lot of infantry equipment produced. Hopefully. Downfall instability. With the lack of political power, our country is destabilized even more. Riots and strikes are beginning to shake up everywhere in the country, and the government is struggling to assert its authority. 50% national unity. The Mark Leak has declared war on Mongolia. Probably not the best idea you've ever had. Just saying. May. Getting there. We're getting there. So at some point we will want to try and get out the civilian economy. And I'll actually remember to do it this time. Like, I am aware of the fact that it needs to be done. Unlike in the Union of Britain game. Okay, so we can now get the Lessons of the Wars Doctrine, which gives us Doctrine Research bonus. We can get Naval Experience, which I don't think is a huge priority. Get some more Fortifications, which I don't think is a massive priority either. We can get the Lessons of here we go. Lessons of Black Monday, Political Power plus 50. And then we can start getting some more industrialization going. The chaos that met our country in the aftermath of Black Monday shook the already weakened economy to its very core. It's time we start a reorganization effort for our economy. Or we can just not get anything and then start recovering some political power. You know what? I think that's an even better idea. That's what we're going to do. We're not going to get any focuses for a while. It's recovering pretty quickly. May, June. 2 months to go. Basic machine tools. Marvellous. Let's get concentrated industry because we are nice and isolated from any potential enemies. I don't think we're going to need synthetic refineries because we've actually got a lot of oil and rubber in South America. I mean, we are going to go on a bit of a conquering spree, you know, to expand the legitimate territories of the Empire of Brazil. It's something that needs to be done, especially while the Americas are Or rather, while America is distracted with their own civil war. Hopefully. The Arab revolt in the Welsh Creek was a failure, mostly due to the defeat of the Entente and millions of Arabs living in the Levant and Iraq stayed under Ottoman rule. Despite this, though, Arab nationalism has been on the rise for many years, and it has finally culminated in the beginning of the Arab Congress in Cairo. Representatives from numerous Arabic nations were greeted with a spectacular performance by the Egyptian dancers and artillery salute, and the negotiations began. Experts predict that Egypt and the Hashemite Arabia will lead the Congress, a Congress where bitterness towards the Ottomans and sometimes even discussions of a united Arab axis against the Turks can flow freely. Good stuff. So is anything else kicking off? Not really. Mark Lake and Mongolia. Let's watch this fight. Wow, that's a really rapid movement fight here going on right now. Lots and lots of exchange of territory. Boundaries are constantly shifting in this one. I can't keep that up, no. Nothing in Africa, nothing here. Still no civil wars going yet. Which is, I'm not going to say unfortunate, but it does give you one less thing to look at. Construction 1, excellent. So we should get stuff being built faster. Now I do kind of wonder if excavation 1 would be a useful one to have. Or we can go for the support weapons. I think support weapons would actually be super helpful. Let's go and grab that. How do my divisions look right now? And in fact, I should check the divisions to see if some of them are trained. They are all trained. Stop wasting my gear. Aha! The Brazilian presidential election 1936. Due to the unstable political situation in our country, especially after the defeat of the Plataean War, emergency elections have been called for on the 1st of August. 5 days late. 4 main coalitions are disputing. First, we have the Aliança Nacional Libertadora, the ANL National Liberation Alliance, a broad front for left-wing parties composed of the Socialist Revolutionary Party and the political sides of the BOC and the CBT syndicates. Next, we have the Liberal Democrats, the Liberal Democratas, an ad hoc coalition of centre-left and liberal forces under the former president Julio Prestes. Political experienced and presenting themselves as a moderate alternative to the present situation. Further to the right we have the Republicans, Republicanos, a union of conservative parties joining landowners and industrial capitalists with the right-wing forces of the military under the leadership of the populist Getulio Vargas. The fourth main coalition are the authoritarian Brazilian Integralist Action, the AIB, the Ação Integralista Brasileiros, the Nationalist and Populist Party under Plínio Salgado. After a very passionate campaign, the elections took place today. As the votes were counted, the next president of Brazil was announced. And with that, we're going to end this episode because I really need to do a little bit more research into this, so you will need to wait until then to see in which direction Brazil goes. Thank you very much for watching. If you are enjoying this series, then please do hit that like button. If you haven't done so already, then do consider subscribing. And if you have any tips or advice for me, let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.